The 1-2 again. Inside. Hits on the ground, left side, Witt dives, smothers it on the grass, to his feet, throw to first. Oh, he got him! What a play! Bobby Witt Jr. He is spectacular. The Royals come from behind and beat the White Sox 8-5. And who else than Bobby Witt Jr.? Jordan in the air to center. Back at the wall. This game is tied.
Alrighty, welcome to Crown Talk, your go-to Kansas City Royals podcast. It is Monday, April 7th. I'm Jared Perkins. That's Kevin O'Brien. Kevin, how are you doing today, man?
Feels good to get a first series win.
Yep.
I was able to be at the ballpark today to watch that in person, and a lot of good things on the field today. So a lot of much-needed momentum that the Royals built today, especially with a 4-game series looming this week against the division rival Twins.
Yeah, it was a good week for the Royals, I think, for the most part. We're through the first full week of an MLB season. You had the opening weekend, so you only had a 3-game stint, but this was like the first full week we got of baseball. Royals started off on the road in Milwaukee. They lost that series 2-1, and then they went over to Baltimore as they wrapped up this weekend and won the series 2-1. Let's start with the Milwaukee series. I think this was another frustrating series that the Royals probably should have won. I felt the same way with the Guardian series. I just felt like they let one of those games go, and it felt like they did the same here. Game 1, offensive explosion. They just absolutely went off. Destroyed the Brewers. It looked like they were going to do what the Yankees did to the Brewers in that Game 1, and then the Game 2 and 3, the offense just disappeared. But kind of talk to me about what you saw in that series.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it seemed like it was going to be a good step. I mean, the Royals won 11-1 in the first game, and you kind of thought, like you said, it's like, oh man, is this going to be a lot like the Yankee series for the Brewers? But yeah, in games 2 and 3, I think it was Chris Patrick Chris or Chad Patrick, I can't remember.
Chad Patrick,
yeah. Making his MLB debut, and he kind of shut down the Royals, which has kind of been a theme last year, was kind of guys who were like maybe not like great prospects making their MLB debut and then kind of shutting the Royals down. And that kind of trend continued in 2025. And then we had a great pitching matchup with Cole Reagans and Freddie Peralta, and they just kind of traded blows, and the Royals offense just didn't do a lot in that one. So it was kind of similar to Cleveland, just not a lot of offensive consistency, and it felt like a series that was probably winnable for the Royals, and it kind of slipped through their fingers just because they couldn't. Their situational hitting just wasn't there.
Yeah, and they lost that last game 3-2, which was even more of a start, and then we went into extra innings again. And it's like they had every opportunity, like you talked about, to kind of win that game and just could not come through. It's been frustrating watching some of the bull, like Sam Long, I think, is a guy that came in and kind of blew that game too. Again, he came in the 11th inning, so there's an automatic runner on second base, and the Royals didn't capitalize. But I kind of want to touch on his struggles a little bit. Let's talk about Sam Long and kind of, because it started with this, I think, Milwaukee series. So I just want to segue into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting right now where he's at. Last year, obviously, really big success story. Kind of went from a non-roster invitee to making the team. He didn't make the team initially, but he was called up and then kind of had a spot. But he's just really struggled to start off the year. Just has not had good outings for the Royals. I think his ERA probably around. I have to double check on that, but it's definitely a lot higher than it was last year. So just his struggles, especially in high leverage situations. Keeping runners on base is just not happening this year. And we actually saw that yesterday. I mean, yesterday he kind of allowed the game to snowball a bit. We had Annie Rogers had an article, or not an article, but a tweet kind of said she talked with Sam Long, and he's kind of owning up to his struggles.
Yeah.
But this is really concerning because it's just, he was such a reliable guy, and it's just not happening this year. And it's really a concern.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff just hasn't looked the same. Like the velocity's there on the fastball, things like that, but he's just not generating the same swing and miss as he was last year. You look at his chase percentages in the 9th percentile, whiff percentages in the 5th percentile. Like even the fastball velo is down to like 93.6, I think.
Mhm.
He was at 94.3 last year. So like it's early in the season, and you kind of would hope that the velo would be up early in the season. But if he's got a drop off in that, that's kind of a worry to me. He had the hard hit percentage was down, or was really good last year. That's down into the 55th percentile. He's up to 38.9% hard hit rates. So like some of that stuff, those underlying metrics are a little bit worrisome to me. And like last year too, he was in the red in terms of K percentage, and this year he's down to 16th percentile. So he's getting hit too hard, not getting the swing and miss, not getting the whiff. Like those are pretty concerning things if you're looking at a lefty reliever.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, you look at him, his K rate last year was 25%, it's down to 12.5% now. His walk rate was 9.7%, it's up to 12.5.
Yeah.
Like you talked about the hard hit rate, he's generating a lot of ground balls, but the problem is a lot of those ground balls are hard hit balls, and it's like so he's not like necessarily giving up balls that are leaving the park, but he is giving a lot of hits, and that's just snowballing. And now he has a 12.46 ERA. Which, I mean, that's unplayable. I mean, it's going to go down, but when, it just doesn't seem like it is anytime soon, or at least it feels like it's not going to be soon enough for him to justify a roster spot.
Yeah, I agree. Was there anything else that kind of stood out in the Brewers series too? I think for me, probably the only other thing is just how hot Michael Garcia has been, even in those games. That's kind of the only thing I can think about. But is there anything else you want to touch on in that Brewers series?
Just kind of the streakiness of the offense, and last year. And again, it's hard to find metrics on these, but it seems like the Royals are kind of a team. It's like are the kings of the big inning, and when they have big innings, like things go really well. But when they don't have the big innings, they kind of struggle to put offense together. And that series was a really classic example of that. 11 runs in game one. I think they had a huge. I want to say we had one inning where they went through the order. But then you kind of take that away, and then it's like a mediocre offense. And so, I think that's just who they are. There's a lot of streaky hitters, especially at the end of the lineup, but they got to figure out a way to string out more consistency.
Yeah. Speaking of big innings, like that's kind of what happened for the Royals in the first game against the Orioles, right? They had that 5-run 8th inning, which kind of capped and solidified that win, but they were only up 3-2 for the entire game. But let's kind of talk and shift into that Orioles series, just because I think this is like more of what we should expect from the Royals, winning some of these series against good teams like Baltimore. I picked the Baltimore sweep in our predictions just because I've always felt like the Royals have the Orioles numbers. It just happens every single year. But they came out strong in game one. Seth Lugo didn't have generate a ton of swing and miss, of course. Like that's kind of not his game anyways. He's got 7 million pitches and he's going to throw them all over the quadrant, fill up the strike zone. But he went 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned, 2 Ks. Like that's what you want from Lugo, I think, at this point. It was just an awesome first game one to get things started.
Yeah, it was, and again, it was a kind of a rough game just because the weather was so bad. It was kind of drizzling the whole time. Not a lot of fans in the ballpark, and understandably so. And that's why you kind of get Seth Lugo. Yes, he'll have games where he has he's generating the swing and miss, but his pitch mix is perfect for a night game like that, where it's just like, hey, I'm keeping the ball in play. I'm relying on my defense. The ball's not going to fly anywhere, so might as well let him put it in play and conserve that pitch count.
Yeah.
And in the bullpen once again, kind of coming through, which was what we're kind of seeing as a trend is, well, if the Royals can get this to the 7th, you got to feel good. And that's kind of what happened in game one. Get it to the 7th. That's what Lugo did, and they were able to pull out that victory and got some insurance at the end.
Yeah, and game 2 wasn't much of the same. Like Walker went 5 2/3 innings, 4 earned, kept him in the game because I think when he came out it was 4-1 at that point. Like, okay, you still got a shot to win it. And then of course Sam Long comes in, and we see more of the same from Sam Long. I don't want to beat a dead horse here at this point, but at what point do you think like when do you start going to Daniel Lynch in that situation, right? Because I think he's the one that's come out and shown like, hey, he's ready to take over kind of a high leverage role. He's dominated every time he's been out there. But to me, I feel like I would have gone Daniel Lynch in that situation.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the interesting kind of development. It's like, I mean, obviously Daniel Lynch much better start to the year than both Sam Long as well as Angel Zerpa. And the stuff looks good. I mean, I think that probably Lynch is starting to enter that circle of trust. I know in his last outing, Lynch had a couple walks, but he minimizes he didn't allow any runs. So I mean, I could see that happening. Again, Lynch is still developing his role. I mean, last year he didn't make the postseason roster, so it's not like Lynch has had this. He's still kind of figuring that out. But I like what Q's doing. It's like, hey, we're not rushing him to the fire. Let's get a good sample and see is Long just going through a bad stretch, or is this just legitimately bad? And I could see in a couple weeks that the roles will flip, which again, that makes us question how long will be in Kansas City if that happens. Because if you're having a mop-up guy, I'd rather have a young guy, a Steven Cruz, a Jonathan Bowlen, an Evan Sisk that will I'd rather have them get an opportunity than a guy who is what he is in Sam Long.
And I think that's what's hard, and that's probably why Sam Long is probably the first on the chopping block, is because you have, like we said, Lynch, you got Zerpa, you got all these lefties, and they got Sisk in the minor leagues. Like, you have guys. It's already a lefty-heavy bullpen. Like, at some point, it's got to give. I'd say the only positive of this game too is that Bobby Witt Jr. finally went yard.
Yes.
So like that was a significant development, and it just, outside of that, it wasn't a very positive game. Like we talked about, no offense, because outside, I think there wasn't a single person had double digit or 2 hits, more than 1 hit. So. Kind of frustrating. It felt like Sagano is a new pitcher again that they've never seen before. So it's just that same old, like, haven't seen a guy, so we don't have a game plan. And I think that's something that's kind of become a trend with the Royals, which kind of worries me. And we've talked about this kind of offline on some of the concerns about the game plan for the hitters. It just doesn't seem like they have one going into a game, especially against new guys.
Yeah, that is a concern. Today was, I thought, a little bit better, and we can talk about that in a little bit in a second. But you're right. It just kind of seems that they don't have the scouting report. There's a lot of chasing, and it seems that sometimes some of the key guys try to do too much, and that's another concern is, instead of guys just going up and letting the at bats come to them, they're trying to force the issue. And that's really leading into at bats that are like 1 or 2 out, or 1 or 2 pitch at bats that are easy pop ups or easy ground outs, which again aren't productive outs, and they don't exhaust the pitch count, which is kind of a double whammy there. And again, it kind of makes you wonder, I mean, what's the scouting? Or is it just guys thinking too much, especially the young guys? I mean, we have still some time, but it's just something to keep an eye out on.
Yeah, and kind of shifting into game 3. So that's where we had a bunch of Royals get multi-hit games. We talked about, we've been beating the drum, Mark Canha getting him in the lineup, and goes 2 for 4. Bobby Witt went 3 for 4, and I just always think it's funny that Bobby Witt slumping is like him slashing 297, 366 with a 514 slug. Like, I mean, that's him kind of at his worst at this point, right? We've seen him in 9 games, and everybody's like, he's slumping. He's still almost hitting 300. So I feel like the concerns there aren't quite as high. You also had Salvi go 2 for 4. Massey was productive, driving in 2 with that big double off of Cade Povich in the 3rd. This is what I want to see more from this team. Like, bringing Tolbert late in the game, he gets 2 stolen bases. Probably should have scored him somehow. They just didn't capitalize on that. But this is what you want to see more of from the Royals.
Yeah, and you want to see Bobby. I mean, just keep this in mind. Like, going into the Orioles series, Bobby was hitting 240. He had a 320 slugging. Yeah. After today, he got his batting average up to 297, and his slugging's up to 514. I mean, again, and if you take away even the Guardians series, I mean, he's the Guardians series was kind of rough. And if you think about it, opening day, they're giving him all the awards. They're telling him how great he is and all this kind of stuff. And then he proceeds to have like 3 strikeouts, right? Like, so he has 3 strikeouts on opening day. Since then, right, he's had, he had a 2 strikeout game on March 30th, but he's only had 3 strikeouts so far in the month of April. I think he's starting to get comfortable again. The balls are starting to find the gaps. He just looked really comfortable there at the plate. He just looked
Yeah.
like he had a plan. He had 2 strikes. He wasn't chasing. He got kind of rung up on his last at bat with a chance to get the cycle. Again, probably overthinking it, probably trying to hit that home run. But you're right. This is the Royals offense that we need to see. Salvi getting 2 hits, not trying to do too much. And then Canha, the guy is just a professional at bat. And that's what the Royals, I think, need the most. They just guys like MJ, guys like Isbell, and even Hunter Renfroe, just too free swinging. Like we need, like, at least with Canha, it's like, okay, he's not going to get a lot of home runs. The power is not what it was when he was in Oakland, but I know that guy's going to grind out a professional at bat, and I'm really hoping that we see more of him, especially because the Royals lineup at the end of the order desperately needs that.
Yeah, he's kind of like when they brought in Yuli Gurriel, right? When Vin went down last year, like that's what you were getting from Yuli every single at bat. Like he was impressive. Like he wasn't, like you said, he wasn't hitting the home runs like he used to hit. He wasn't hitting the gap shots, but it was either a single or a walk, and you're like, okay, we'll take it.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's like you have the Royals' best hitters are free swinging, right? Like Salvi is free swinging. Massey is kind of free swinging, though I think his plate discipline's a little better. Even Bobby, to an extent, is free swinging. India has brought a lot of professionalism in those professional at bats at the top of the order. They just need that at the bottom, and Canha is, like, I think the guy that can really provide that.
Yeah, and kind of talking a little bit more about the pitching in this game too. Chris Bubic absolutely dominated. 6 2/3, 5 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk. AK. I know you tweeted something out kind of about some of the changes that he's made, I think, right? But what kind of stuck out to you about Chris Bubic?
I think Chris Bubic, the biggest thing I think with him is just, he's really leading with his fastball. And his fastball is really interesting because if you look at, like, velocity, you'll say 92. Like, that's not impressive. But then you look at, like, the pitch quality, like the IVB, the induced vertical break. It's about 20 inches. That's kind of really, really good for a pitcher. Yeah. And you also look at his extension. So he has some of the top percentile extension. And so he makes that 92-mile-per-hour fastball look a couple miles per hour more. So really it's like hitters are seeing like a 90. It looks like 94, even though it's 92. And I think that's a really key thing, is just that he's knowing how to utilize his stuff. He's generating the movement on his pitches. And again, he's continuing to add things. He's added a cutter. He's added a slider. Just seeing what he was doing, if you look at, he was generating a lot of first pitch strikes too. And that's what I think is really impressive about Bubic today. Because I always try to track first pitch strikes, I probably would say the first 9 batters, probably 7 or 6 as 7 of those first 9 batters, he got first pitch strikes. That's just a guy that's like, hey, I'm going to attack you. I don't care if you're the Orioles lineup. Like, I'm going to go after you. And that paid off. And I think that's sometimes something maybe Reagan struggles with a little bit. I think that's something maybe Waka struggles with a little bit. Reagan's is more just a command issue. Waka, I think it's like he's trying to be too fine. So it's nice to kind of see Bubic kind of say, hey, I'm just going to do it. And you guys beat me. I'm not going to beat myself.
Yeah. And I was diving into his Savant data. To your point, he's gone up to fastball usage of 51%, where it was 44% last year, which, again, he's in the bullpen, so maybe a little different, but he was 36% of the time the sweeper. But maybe you're just kind of relying on those 2 pitches if you're coming out of the bullpen. But now he's dropped down to 23% sweeper. Like you said, he's added a slider, which he's going to 13% of the time. What's most impressive to me on his Savant page is that average exit velocity and hard hit rate, 99th percentile in both. That is, for the fact that he's been able to do that with, like you said, a fastball that's 92.5 miles an hour. It's probably at the lower end of the average fastball velo in the major leagues, but he's got the weird arm angle at 38 degrees. Like, he just comes at you at a different angle, and he's able to dominate. And it's just been awesome and impressive. And speaking of that, dominating the bullpen, the Harvey, Ursig, Estevez, 7, 8, 9, man. It's like, it's working like money every time. We talked about it earlier. Like, as long as you get your starter to go 6 innings and you turn the ball over to those guys, like, absolutely dominating. I think in this one, Ursig or Harvey went a third of an inning, only needed him because Bubic only went 6 2/3. You had Ursig go an inning, 2 strikeouts. That changeup that he threw, like, inside on the knees on the left-handed batter, just dotted the corner, just beautiful. And then Carlos Estevez, the new guy, gets a second save. Is this bullpen as good as the Herrera Davis Holland days?
I mean, that's a really good question. I mean, part of me, I mean, we've only got a week of play, so right,
Yeah.
like we can't really put like
Could get
against
blown
like
up tomorrow.
yeah, exactly. But it's a bullpen that we haven't really seen. Even like when we had Scott Barlow, who was serviceable, it was like these guys are like a different level, and it's just like because you have guys with really good stuff, and you have guys that have experience putting in leverage. And I think what I like the most about this bullpen is that I love how creative Q is with them. That Lucas Urseg is like, last year he was a traditional closer. He came in to close. Now it's like Q is like, I'm going to put him in the toughest spots. I don't care if it's in the eighth inning or the seventh inning or the ninth. Like he's going in the toughest spots. And I think that just really is a nice segue for Estevez. So Estevez can have these clean innings. It's truly a bullpen by committee. And even like Hunter Harvey kind of coming in, only getting one out, but it's just dominating that one at bat. And to be honest, Buick should have gone through 7. Renfroe didn't misplayed a ball in the corner of the outfield. So really Bubic should have been out of that and had a shutout. But it's I'm not ready to say that yet, obviously, but I mean, I like the potential of this, and it wouldn't surprise me if that by the end of the year we're talking about how does this rank towards like that 2014 2015 trio.
Yeah, and to me, this is the complaint that we got from Royals fans all last year, right? Like Ursig would get thrown out there in the 6th or 7th or 8th or whenever, and everybody's like, well, who's closing the game?
Yeah.
And we didn't have someone to go out in the 9th. It was like Bubic was out there sometimes. Lynch maybe got out there a couple times, like Sam Long once in a while. Like they just didn't have a certified guy. Like signing Carlos Estevez to be able to go out there, take the ball in the 9th. He's probably going to lock it down. Like your chances are much higher than they are that'll lock it down than not. It's just kind of refreshing to see. And like Harvey being healthy, right? That's huge. We didn't have Hunter Harvey. And that was the other issue is like we traded for him. Then he went down with an injury. And then when he was healthy, he just wasn't himself because he just wasn't feeling good.
Right.
And I don't know. This is going to be a lot of fun, this bullpen.
And I think about it. Remember, Hunter Harvey was being discussed in trade talks this offseason. I mean, his name was tied to a couple players on the Mets, like Starling Marte and Brett Beatty. And if you look at where Brett Beatty and Starling Marte are, I mean, Starling Marte was hitting 200 going into this game. Yeah. Like Brett Beatty had a 427 OPS. I mean, just imagine if we had traded Harvey and kind of had Brett Beatty, who's not really doing that much. That would have been another just as much outrage as like a Hunter Renfroe or somebody else, right? Another one of those trades. So I'm glad that the stars aligned that the Royals didn't trade Hunter Harvey, because I think we know what our strength is, and that's in the bullpen, and that's because of that 7th, 8th, 9th innings.
Yeah, and I mean, you have those if you don't have to go to Lugo or Walker for 6 innings every time, right? Because like all of a sudden having Harvey, Ursig, Estevez makes like, okay, you can bump Lynch down, you can bump Zerpa down, you can bump everybody else down, which I think is just huge for this bullpen. And like it probably helps the longevity of this rotation. You're not relying on every starter to have to give you 6, which I think is awesome. Want to shift to some of the negatives. So we've recapped the series. The first one is what do we do with MJ Melendez and Hunter Renfroe at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote about Melendez on Saturday, and kind of one of the things I talked about is, I kind of feel like, and I don't know and this might be Melendez, it might be the player development or whatever not, but I feel like it's really interesting how they've tried to shift MJ from being somebody completely different from his rookie year, right? If you look at him as a rookie, he was hitting leadoff at one point. But he was kind of known for striking out a lot, but at least he got on base, at least he worked counts, at least he had the potential to hit the long ball. And now he's become more free swinging. His swing rate has gone up every year since he's been in the majors. His O swing, his chase rate has gone up every year. He's become less disciplined. And that's why I'm like, why are we focusing so much on these swing mechanics and just not on his approach? It's like, who cares? Like if he doesn't hit 230, at least maybe he can be Rob Deere. I don't know. Like maybe he can just be a guy that, he'll strike out a lot, but you know what? Maybe he'll give you some power upside. But I feel like we're kind of even past that, because it's like, man, like the swing doesn't look right. Like the approach doesn't look right. And I know he's pressing, but all those factors, it's not good. So I really would like to see him in the minor leagues. I don't know if it's going to happen. I feel like it's almost too much of a blow to the ego to do it, which I think is not the right way to do it. But I just don't know what to do with him because I don't think he's very playable right now. And as far as Hunter Renfroe, it's just I don't know. I was hoping that maybe, hey, like last year he wasn't healthy. And maybe this year he'd get on the streak, kind of like what he did in Boston, kind of like what he did in Milwaukee. But he just might be done. Like, I mean, it's just, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like he just might not have it. And and that happens to everybody. But I think when you got a guy like Canha, gives professional at bats, and Hunter Renfroe, who's a little bit too free swinging, I'd rather have Canha. Like, I don't see why you can't have Canha. I'd rather have Canha and MJ in left and right than MJ and Renfroe in left and right. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, going kind of into MJ Melendez, like he's first percentile on barrel percentage. He's 27th percentile on hard hit percentage. He's 20th percentile on K percentage, 11th percentile on whiff percentage, 19th percentile on chase percentage. Like there isn't, if you look at a Savant page, there's not a single category where you're like, oh, maybe he'll get out of this. It's just like we've talked about, he's up there guessing. He just needs something to boost the confidence, it seems like at this point. And I feel like the only thing you can do is send him to AAA and like call Drew Waters up. I know we've had the same song and dance with Drew Waters, but like he's going to provide you decent defense. Right now, he's hitting 455 with 556 OBP, 909 slug. I know, again, 6 games, it's Omaha, ball flies. I got it. But like, there's a reason you traded a comp pick for Drew Waters, right? There's obviously you believe there's something there talent wise. He's the same age as MJ Melendez. Like there's still some upside there in the player. At this point, it's like, why would you not give him another shot? They also have like Joey Weimer, Tyler Gentry, John Rave, all are kind of struggling a little bit in AAA to start. Like Rave's at least got 2 home runs, 4 stolen bases, but he's hitting like 192. Again, early sample sizes, but like there's guys down there in AAA that might have a better shot at succeeding than MJ Melendez right now.
Right, and it's like, what does Drew Waters have to prove in AAA? Like, he is what he is. I mean, it's like he's not going to suddenly stop striking out. He's not going to suddenly start making contact. It's, if you think about it, really Drew Waters and MJ Melendez, they're kind of, it feels like almost like they're very similar players right now.
Yep.
Like, it's like, and so at least like ride the hot hand. At least like, well, Drew Waters is doing well in AAA. At least give him a shot and let MJ. And guess what? If Drew Waters stinks by the end of May, then just bring up MJ Melendez or add John Rave to the roster and just let the chips fall where they may. But you're right. Like I don't see why you can't put in Drew Waters. Like he's the same age as MJ Melendez. It's just give him a shot, see what he can do. If he doesn't do well, guess what? Just maybe say, well, we'll just pass on him and wish him luck.
Yeah. And I mean, like we said, he's got the same kind of upside. I think I struggle with like keeping him. It seems like they wanted to give MJ chance after chance after chance. I get it. He works incredibly hard. Like he's a good guy. And at some point though, you have to be like, all right, we want to win baseball games. And how do you do that? You bring up somebody who maybe will produce a little bit more. On the Hunter Renfroe side, like I just think we're stuck. Like unless you salary dump him, I mean, I know they talked to the Yankees this offseason. Like if the Yankees want him for, I don't know, a torpedo bat, like I'll make the trade.
I mean, it's, but then again, like Trent Grisham is like going off. So now it's, I mean, that's what I kind of thought. I was like, okay, maybe if like, I mean, because with Giancarlo Stanton out, I thought, okay, maybe they might want him. But now with like Trent Grisham suddenly finding the fountain of youth or the torpedo bat, I guess now he's like
torpedo bat of youth.
Torpedo bat of youth for Trent Grisham. It's like, man, he might hit over the Mendoza line for the first time in 4 years. I just don't think that ship has sailed. But but you're right. Like we're kind of stuck with Renfroe. It's kind of like you just kind of grind it out until like you feel like, okay, this is like the cutoff point where we feel like it's fine eating the money, because they'll eat money. They paid Hunter Dozier's contract last year, even though he didn't play for a major league team. So it's I don't think the Royals are averse to that. I just don't think they want to do it like in the first or second week of the season.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of brings me to the last negative I want to talk about, and we talked about it last week, is Chris Stratton. I don't know what you do with this guy throwing 88 miles an hour right-handed at this point. Like back in the day, you could get away with maybe 88 as a lefty. Like you just go out there lefty only when there was like the no minimum batter rule for pitchers. But now, I mean, like I don't want to just again crap on Chris Stratton, but like the fastball hasn't been the same since like 2022.
Yeah.
It's obviously not working. He had a 5.5 ERA. He's already up to the 7.71 this year. Like every outing he has had has not been good. Even when he's come in situations where I think against the Orioles, that was like the 8-1 game. Like they're already down 6-1 when he came in, and he just gave up 2 more runs. So I just don't know what he brings to this roster anymore. And I hate to say it, but
well, and it's hard because it's the fastball just makes such a difference because guys don't chase. Like guys just say like, throw me a fastball in the zone. Cause I know that you have like, cause if you look at like some of the metrics, like his secondary pitches actually rate pretty well. Like his changeup rates well and his slider rates well. But the problem is the fastball is so subpar. And and again, it's just, guys aren't going to chase because they're like, I can tell, and it's kind of ridiculous when you look at 12, like he was a 7.4 walk rate in his last season in Texas in 2023. That walk rate went up to 12.8% last year, and now it's up to 16.7%. And vice versa, you look at the K rate, 24% in 2023, 17.1% last year, 8.3. It's like, I mean, it's like not, you can't have a guy in a bullpen who throws 88 that's walking more guys than striking out. Like you can live with that if you got like 100-mile-per-hour fireballer. You can live with that if it's Carlos Hernandez. You can't live with that with a guy like Chris Stratton, unfortunately.
Yeah, and they got 2 guys in the minors right now that have good fastballs, and Thomas Hatch and Jonathan Bolin, who are both throwing really well. And it's like Bolin's already on the 40 man. I don't think Tanner Hatch is, but like you could call up Jonathan Bolin and give him a shot. I haven't seen Sarantola pitch, so I don't know if was he put on the AA roster? I can't remember. There's might be a reason.
Yeah, I think so. I think Sarantola. I'm not, but
which kind of makes sense because they brought in like Jacob Wallace, they brought in Junior Fernandez, they brought in Thomas Hatch, so like that probably provided some depth at the AAA level, and Sarantola can kind of develop a little bit more. But man, like give Bolin a shot to work in the bullpen at this point.
Yeah, actually, Sarantola is on the injured list right now, so that's probably why we haven't seen him. But but you're right. Like you got guys with big fastballs. You got Bolin. You got Hatch, who's really worked on some things in Japan last year. You got Fernandez. Fernandez is one of my favorite guys. I know his stats stink, but like if you look at like the process, if you look at like the stuff, like if he can get any control on there, there's some real upside there. And then Steven Cruz, obviously, who's really molded himself. So you're right. Like there's more upside guys, and I get it. They're paying Stratton. It's probably the same thing as Renfroe. They probably tried to ditch him. Nobody wants him, but it's just like, I don't know how long you can hold on to him because he's just not giving you anything.
I just don't see like Stratton all of a sudden getting his value back. And you're like, we can trade him for a player to be named later or cash. Like, I don't even think that's going to be possible. Like, no one wants Chris. Like, they're going to, if they released him, I couldn't imagine somebody just going and picking up Chris Stratton.
Unfortunately,
maybe a minor league deal, but like, no. Someone will maybe throw him in AAA. Like, I can see that.
I don't know because I just it's at least with guys like Colin Snyder or like Dave Spire, they're at least young enough to have upside. I mean, a 34-year-old Chris Stratton, like who's going to really want that, right?
Yeah. Want to stick in the minor leagues and talk about some positives. The Omaha's been going for a while, but the rest of the minor leagues kicked off. We got to talk about Jac Caglianone.
Yes,
385, 412, 692 slash, has a homer that he hit 116 miles an hour, 464 feet, 7 ribbies, a double, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Like, this guy I said was going to make a quick ascent to the big leagues, and this is what he needed to do, and he's doing it in the first 3 games of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wearing my Northwest Arkansas Naturals hat for a reason today, and that's a lot of it is because of Jac. Again, this is one of the things why the people judging when a guy plays right after getting drafted is very overrated.
Yes.
I mean, because guys, it's like they play the full grind in college. They're dealing with everything in the draft. They're making They're becoming professionals right there. And so I know a lot of people are like, oh, like Jac's numbers weren't good. Like in his when he signed. Well, you look at Bobby Witt Jr.'s numbers when he was in the complex league. They weren't good either. It's just that is a grind. But boy, man, just the professional at bats he's having, just the power.
Yeah.
I mean, that is legit major league ready power right now. I mean, reality. I mean, just that power tool is so legit, and it's to hit a ball like he did in Tulsa. That is incredible, man. I mean, I kind of thought, okay, spring training, Arizona, all this stuff, but it's like Tulsa's the same dang weather as we got right now here in Kansas City, and he's hitting that 464 feet. I thought it would be really bold for him to debut, but man, it's just like not a matter of if he's going to debut in 2025 or 4. It's like, is it like more or 2025? It's more like when now. Yeah, exactly.
And it's like they're facing the Dodgers affiliate, and like Jackson Ferris through, Ronan Kopp through, like some of these guys who have been top prospects, like top 30 prospects for the Dodgers, we're throwing, and Cags is like, I don't care. I'm gonna rake, and the plate coverage is absolutely insane. Guess some other guys we could talk about in that lineup too. Carter Jensen, absolutely raking. That guy's really good at baseball as well. I don't know. Is there any other guys on that lineup you want to talk about?
I love Northwest Arkansas. Like, I mean, I think I try to like prioritize because, you know, if you have MLB TV, you can watch all of your affiliates. So, you know, for me, it's like Northwest Arkansas is like the priority because you look at that lineup. It's like obviously Jac, Carter Jensen off to another great start. You know, Carter Jensen is hitting 467 with a 996 OPS. You know, Spencer Nivens. I mean, he was kind of seen as kind of a dark horse a little bit. He got off to a slow start last year, which we all know is like if you try to hit in Quad Cities in April or May, it's like death to the ball because it's just like the park factors are terrible there. But you know, he's hitting 385. Had his first home run today. And then you got some of these like really intriguing players like Jack Pineda has kind of come along, has been kind of a sneaky, like effective player. I don't think he's anything. He's probably like a Cam Devaney or like a Nicky Lopez, but there's something there. And he's hitting 357. He had a good spring training. Just again, Gavin Cross hitting 333, 812. A lot of talent there, at least on the position player end.
Yeah. And I think we see some of those guys in the big leagues. I think Cross, Caglianone, of course, probably more specifically, have the best shot from that AA team to come up on the hitting side. I'd say on the pitching side, if you're probably going to see someone, it could be Steven Zobak. I think he's just given his age and kind of how more polished he is than the other guys. Like he's a guy I could see debuting. Then Kudrina, I think, still a little bit raw and has some things to figure out. But Zobak, he struggled in his first outing, gave up 5 earned over 3, but still struck out 6. Like that's a guy I think you could see in the bullpen. That fastball is real nice.
I like Zobak a lot. I mean, where are you at with Kudrina? Because I'm torn on him.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier with Stratton. Again, not as significant of an issue with the fastball, but like he came out of high school pumping like 98, like sitting 98 with his fastball. I think he's now more like the 92 to 94 range, tops at like 95, 96. And his off-speed stuff just doesn't play off of it like it used to when he was coming out of high school. I keep hoping like that fastball will tick back up to be like 97, 98, or he'll sit like 95, 96. I think if he can get it there, like the changeup's really good, the slider's good, like he could play those pitches, but the command's always kind of been shaky with him. The good news is he didn't walk anybody in his first outing, so he went 4 1/3, 2 earned, 4 Ks, which is pretty good. So if he can polish up some of those command issues, maybe get some better consistency with his off speed, because I think right now he's expecting his off speed to work like it used to when he had the high octane fastball, and it's just not. And so people aren't chasing out of the zone. It's kind of the same thing with the Stratton issue. So he just needs to get some more command on those off speed pitches and be able to dot them in the zone, because then they'll become more effective.
Right. And I think that was an issue. Like, I mean, he was either not getting the chase or he was making mistakes and they were just crushing it, like when he went to Northwest Arkansas. But the good thing I do like about Kudrina is that it does seem like once he starts off another level, he kind of seems to adjust okay. Like I know he kind of struggled like a couple years ago when he went to high A. Then like he started off in high A last year, did fine. So
Yeah.
I feel like he adjusts well. It might take a little time, but I'm really curious to see him about Northwest Arkansas because I don't love him. I just don't love him as a prospect compared to like I kind of was even toying like, is he really a top 10 prospect in my mind? Yeah, probably, but you know, I'm seeing lists that he's like 2, 3, 4. And I'm just like, man, I couldn't do that. So I'm hoping that he kind of proves me wrong and kind of shows something this year.
Yeah, I agree there. Kind of talk about some of the Quad City guys. The first one's Carson Roccaforte. So he's a guy that I was kind of high on coming out of the draft, and I've really soured on him after his performance last year. But he started off strong in 3 games, double, triple, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 3 walks. But he should be doing this as a 23-year-old in Quad Cities in high A, right? Like he should be in double A at this point, given his age. And he still struck out 5 times in 12 at-bats, which is concerning to me. I've had concerns about the hit tool since he's come to the Royals, and like that doesn't really ease my concerns.
I mean, yeah, he's repeating high A, so I mean, like he should be hitting this well. I'm hoping that he kind of does what Tyler Gentry did, is like repeats it and then kind of really quick and then moves. Yeah, he's had good, but you're right. Like I think one of the issues, he just strikes out a lot, and it's just, and that's at high A, that's just really concerning because it's like the pitching is only going to get better. So yeah, I mean, I kind of like I'm curious. I'm keeping an eye on him, but I'm not still holding out any hopes. I've been really intrigued by Daniel Vasquez. You know, hitting 182 right now, 697 OPS. You know, he's kind of one of those guys. His play patience is a little bit more developed than his hit tool. The Royals have moved him really slowly. I know part of it was due to injuries, but I know he's got some upside. I know that he was a highly rated international signing when he signed as a 16-year-old. He's a guy that I'm paying attention to. I really liked what I saw from him in spring training and in spring breakout. So that's why I'm kind of like hopeful about him. Austin Charles, another guy, went 144 today, hitting 333, 900. Such an athlete. Is he going to put it all together? I don't know. It just kind of seems like a long shot, but for a guy with his tool set, you just kind of feel like let's take that shot. Pitching is just kind of, I don't know. I mean, I don't really feel like there's any big arms there that I'm really like too thrilled about.
The one guy I'm really excited about, and so Drew Beam didn't throw very well. He's a guy I was excited about, but the other guy that I'm really excited about, and I think he could make a fast ascent through the minors, is AJ Causey. Tennessee guy, went 2 innings, 3 hits, 4 Ks in his first outing.
Okay.
He was a guy that I was super high on that they got in the draft. He was a Friday night starter for Tennessee and eventually was brought in after the opener. But it's a low 90s 2-seam sinker that gets 20 inches a run. So it's kind of like a deceptive fastball, like Chris Bubich. He's got a really good slider that he pairs it with that has significant spin and a changeup. Like it's a funky alarm shot, and he lives off of deception. But I think he's a guy who can make some noise in the minor leagues, and he's a 5th rounder for them. Kind of when they went on that streak of just taking college arms, but. I think he's a guy who could play in the bullpen pretty quickly just because of the deception.
Yeah, that's a good one. I remember seeing some stuff on him. Another one I kind of forgot about. I don't know why I forgot is I guess Mazzucato. You know, kind of another one that we kind of, I kind of was like left for dead. And then on him, I was like, yeah, it is what it is. And then we saw him at spring breakout. And then, you know, he's pumping 93, he's pumping 94. It's all of a sudden like you look at his TJ stuff and it's just like it's in the hundreds. He had a okay debut, 5 innings, 3 strikeouts. You know, didn't only allowed 1 hit. Had 3 walks. Command has always been an issue for him. So I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on Mazzucato?
I need to see that velo sustained.
I do too. I think there's no reports on it. It's like the biggest mystery is like, what is Mazzucato's velo?
Yeah. It's every single year I try to, I'm like, hey, if he just sits 93, like just doesn't even need to sit like, cause he's like 88 to 91. He just needs to sit like the 92, 93 range with that curveball. And like, he's got something. Cause like he just developed a changeup and maybe that thing plays better if he's got a better fastball. But I just want to see, like, again, he walked 3 guys too in his first outing in 5 innings. And so the command obviously is still struggling. So that's where I struggle with Mazzucato a little bit, but I'll hold out hope.
Yeah, that's the one thing. It's like when I watch these games, I'm like, I could care less about. I could care less about what they did in their past at bats. Just give me the velo, man.
Yeah,
like that's all I want to see is just give me the velo, so we know how hard he's throwing.
Yeah. Lastly, we'll quickly jump on some guys in Colombia. First guy I want to talk about is Derlin Figueroa. 455, 600, 1,000 slash in 3 games, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, 4 walks, and a stolen base. This is the guy that the Royals got for Ryan Yarbrough.
Yep.
And he was a guy who raked before he came to the Royal system with the Dodgers system.
Yeah, he's one interesting because he was the one that was getting some Jordan comps and things like that. And then you're right, he had a slow year in Colombia. So he's kind of been kind of forgotten about. And you're right, he's just been absolute gangbusters. 6 RBIs today. I mean, granted, he's repeating the level, but I mean, the tools are there. I mean, he's long been seen as kind of a sleeper prospect. He's still only 21. I mean, this could be a breakout guy this year.
Yeah, be interested to see how that one turns out. Stone Russell's off to a hard start too. This was a guy I didn't think they were going to sign in that 2023 draft. They took him in the 18th round, high school prospect. Believe he's a catcher. Slashing 429, 556, 857. He's got a homer, 2 RBI. So another guy to keep an eye on. No one else really in the Colombia lineup. Like Aspel Gonzalez has done some things, 5 stolen bases, so he's got some speed, but he doesn't hit the ball hard enough for me to get too excited about. Like he's got a good hit tool, like contact wise, but hits the ball on the ground too much, and he just needs to develop some more power. But I don't know if you have any thoughts.
I mean, Aspel, I think you're right. Like he's kind of a project. He's got to get the hit tool a little bit more, and he's got to get that exit velocity. Ramon Ramirez is another guy paying attention to. Walking a lot at least. He's had 666 OPS, even though his batting average is 167. Still 19 years old, so I mean you got to keep that in mind. Yeah, I mean I kind of liked what I saw from him in the spring breakout. Just looks like he has a lot of potential, to grow and to really grow into his body and have some power. Colombia is a weird hitting environment, though. Typically, hitters, it seems like they always, unless like they're kind of a college guys, like it seems like college guys come in there and do okay, but the young guys, like the Dominican Summer League guys, they kind of struggle. So I think it wouldn't be a surprise to me if Ramirez maybe takes some time to get going, because we're seeing that with Derlin Figueroa, who had to take some time to get going last year. Daniel Vasquez was kind of the same deal a couple years ago. Started off slow. So I would just kind of I think sometimes with the Dominican Summer League guys, you got to kind of be a little patient.
Yeah. I was going to say, don't look at the pitching side because Colombia pitchers not as great.
25 runs today. So, I mean, yes, it was not a good day.
No. One guy I will mention, though, is Dennis Colleran. He's gone 2 innings, 2 strikeouts, no runs. This is another guy that I was super high on in the draft. Everybody was kind of out on him when they looked at his numbers throughout the year, but he was recovering and returning from Tommy John surgery. He was the number 41 prospect on the Prospect Slides top 300 board, and the Royals got him in the 7th round. Huge stuff, like fastball slider combo. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Dylan Coleman, but probably a little bit better. It's like a mid-90s heater with heavy sink and run. He's bumped it up to 100 miles an hour. The slider's been in the upper 90s. Like there's high leverage reliever there, and especially if he irons out some of those inconsistencies. Like keep your eye out on Dennis Colleran because I think he's another guy that could be a quick riser through the minors.
That's a good one. I know that we'll probably see Walters and Wyatt at some point.
Yeah.
They're probably right now in extended spring training. They're probably going to ease them up as high school prep arms. Both
David
of them
Shields, same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, Wyatt did okay when he went to low A last year. So I think he could move quickly. I'd like to see Walters move quickly. I mean, he was kind of the darling of the draft a couple years ago, and he wasn't bad, but he wasn't awesome. So hopefully maybe he comes in after extended spring training and looks a lot better.
Yeah. That kind of wraps it up for the minor leaguers. So just kind of to preview the upcoming series, we can kind of go through this really quickly. They got a 4-game home set against the Minnesota Twins, 3-game road set against the Cleveland Guardians. What are your predictions for these series?
I've been watching the Twins, and boy, man, like there's some concerns there. I think they blew like it was like a 5-run lead today. Like I think they kind of melted down against the Astros today. I think there's some question marks within their bullpen. I like I think what Griffin Jax, who is supposed to be like the possible closer this year, is kind of falling apart this year. Their offense is kind of inconsistent. But we struggled against the Twins last year. It seemed like the Twins had our number. So like, I'm kind of curious how that's going to go. I feel good though. I feel like if the Royals winning this game today can really build that momentum to the next 4 games. I'm not going to predict any sweeps, but I like to think the Royals can get 3 out of 4 against the Twins. And the Guardians is going to be a tough one. But the Guardians are are shaky right now. They lost 2 of 3 to the Angels. So I mean, it's not like the Guardians are kicking butt right now. So I mean, I'm hoping for 2 or 3 on the road against Cleveland. They actually seem to play better in Cleveland last year than they did at home. And I'm basing that just off of my gut, no actually looking at Baseball Reference or anything. So if I'm wrong, people call me out on this. But I just feel like they play better at Cleveland than they do at Kansas City against the Guardians. And so I'm kind of hoping for a 2 out of 3 because they got a big series the next week against the Yankees.
Yeah, I went pretty aggressive last week, and I said they're going to do 2 out of 3 against the Brewers and then sweep the Orioles. So I'm going to go a little bit, probably stick with what you got here. Go 3 out of 4 against the Twins. The leading batting average leader for the Twins is Trevor Larnach at 250. So this lineup's really struggling, and they're going to come and have to face the Royals pitching staff. So like, yes, they get Michael Lorenzen in game 1, but then you're going to have to go Reagan's Lugo Waka. So like, I think they're going to struggle. And then I'm thinking they're going to take 2 out of 3 against the Guardians. I think they're going to want to bounce back and show that they can compete with the Guards. And going with that.
Yeah, I kind of, like I said, the Guardians are kind of trending in a weird direction. I think their pitching is kind of blowing up on them, which I think is like a good sign for us going into that series.
Yeah. Well, that does it for us. You can catch us weekly on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube. It's Crown Talk _KC on YouTube. If you want to follow us on X, we don't really have a ton going on the X account right now. We're just kind of promoting the podcast out of there, but it's Crown Talk _KC. But make sure you rate, subscribe on Apple, Spotify. We'll come to you weekly. Going to keep doing this, see how it goes. And until next time, go Royals.
Go Royals.